Hi everyone, welcome to Wine Styles Ankeny 10-minute tasting. This week we're going to chat about all things beer, specifically focusing on some great summer options for your picnics, patio parties, boating, and whatever it may be that you decide to do in the sun. So we have some awesome selections that we're going to chat a little bit about. So Cheyenne, tell us, what makes a summer beer? How is it different or unique from what I might drink the rest of the season?
Yeah, so a summer beer is something that's going to be very refreshing, and it typically does have a lower alcohol content, especially when it's coming from a domestic producer. However, a lot of our craft beers, they will actually have a higher ABV, which isn't necessarily always a bad thing. But you do have to
lower with the boating in the summer.
But you do have to watch out when you are enjoying the craft beers anyway, since they do typically have a higher ABV. Usually they do have more of a citrusy flavor to it. They'll either use a citra hop, or they'll have an addition of lemon or lime. In fact, 3 of the beers that we have in front of us, those all have some sort of a citrus take on it, or they have a tropical flavor, i.e. the Aloha Iowa, which is a pineapple Belgian style ale.
Sounds very interesting.
And typically all of the specialty brewed craft beers that are for summer are going to be either a ale or a wheat ale, so it's not just going to be a plain pilsner or lager. They usually do have a little bit of body to them without having too much to overpower your hot summer activities. But I actually don't really know too much about how you make beer. I've seen a couple of Modern Marvel episodes, but that's really it. So what do you guys know about making beer?
Well, beer is actually super interesting. It's actually one of the original fermented drinks. It's a fermented grain beverage. So in making wine, you take the grape juice, which has sugar, you add the yeast, and the yeast converts the sugar to alcohol and a lot of other flavor compounds. With beer, it's actually a grain. So it's barley or some other grain, and that's the sugar source. So it's been around for literally thousands of years, and there's essentially 2 different types of brewing processes to make a grain fermented beverage or a beer. One is the ale style, and the other is the lager style. And the ale style is actually the original brewing process for beer, and it's arguably somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000 years ago is when it was first documented. And the ale process differs quite a bit from the lager process, and it has to do with the temperature of the fermentation. So ales ferment at a higher temperature, so the yeast in an ale beer is accustomed to a higher temperature, so definitely over 55 degrees, but up to 75 degrees. And a lager yeast actually won't survive those temperatures. The lager yeast actually ferment at around 50 degrees or sometimes lower than that, which an ale yeast won't even produce alcohol at that level. So the major difference between a lager and an ale is the temperature of fermentation. And I think when we look back at the history of beer and the fact that the ale was the first style of beer to be made, it makes sense because they didn't have refrigeration. Mm-hmm. Unless you were brewing it in a cold environment, there was no way to make it happen. And so lagers, which again are going to be a colder, slower fermentation, really didn't come into existence until the 1800s, when we started having the ability to control temperature and bring the fermentation along slower, because a lager takes 2 weeks or longer, many times much longer than that, to fully ferment. And an ale usually is done fermenting in about a week. So you get a much faster process due to the heat. The yeast in an ale are actually very similar to the yeast that we would brew wine. It's actually the same yeast that you make bread with. Saccharomyces cerevisiae is the name, so it's very similar, but they're used to a hotter temperature.
So you're telling me I can just open up a package of my active yeast at home and throw them in some water and get
Well,
beer?
actually,
Oh, never that easy.
if you took some grain, so if you had some barley at home and you boiled that, which is how they get the sugars released, and then that soup, which is actually called a wort, I believe, has the sugar in it. If you added your packet of yeast to that after it cooled down below 75, then yes, it would ferment.
Oh.
Ferment. So
All
you
right,
could make.
Cheyenne's got.
you could
I
make-
have
you
a
could
science
make a batch of
project.
beer.
Nice. And we picked some great local beers,
Yes.
all from Iowa here to sample and to talk a little bit about. We've got the Confluence Southside Citra in our glass, and right now, and Cheyenne, you mentioned the kind of really citrus notes that's common with the summer beer, and I was sipping on this already, and I know, Paul, you tried some
Yes.
before, and
Amazing fresh grapefruit
Absolutely.
flavor to it and aroma.
but yet light and refreshing.
But it still has so much flavor. I may be biased, but I absolutely love Confluence's beers, any of them that they do. But this one's phenomenal. Like, I would drink a lot of those on a hot summer day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's extremely refreshing. I like hoppy beers, so this has a little bit of that bitterness that comes from hops. Hops are actually a plant, and the flower of the hop is added to the beer as part of the brewing process, which gives you that distinctive. If you're an IPA drinker or a pale ale drinker, it gives you that distinctive hoppy or bitter flavor. This is super nice.
Yeah, and then we also have the Westo Summer Shandy, and shandies are perfect for the summer, and this is made in a traditional style with the 50% wheat ale and 50% homemade lemonade, made right up in Okoboji using fresh spring water from the lake. So
From the
that's
lake.
kind of a cool
Yes.
little thing
As
to note,
somebody
too.
who grew up in that area, that is like the perfect Okoboji boating beer.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
And then Kelowna. We just recently started carrying Kelowna not all that long ago, and they've got some great examples. This one looks really fun to try. It's the pineapple Belgian style ale. So, pineapple is a great summer fruit to have at picnics, and so I'm sure this is going to be a perfect summer beer. And then also their Kelowna Classic, the light lager, which I know I've had in the past, and I really like because it is that lighter lager, making it a great summer beer too. Only 4.1% alcohol on that one, so a little bit higher than some of your other everyday drinking beers, but still not bad for a summer craft beer.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think some people think that ales are darker and stronger than lagers, and although the style lends to that stereotype, the alcohol level can be more or less in either style, and actually the color can be either darker or lighter in any of the styles, and that depends on how the grains are treated. If the grains are roasted for a longer period of time, changing to a darker color, then the final product of the beer will be a darker beer. And again, that tends to be associated with the ales, so the porters and stouts, which are considered ales as well. But the true difference is the brewing temperature and the brewing yeast.
So Cheyenne, kind of being the cook in the group too, which
Yes.
we talk about a lot, tell me what you might think about pairing some of these lighter, more citrus beers with at your picnic or at your grill out.
Yeah, so I would 100% pair the Kelowna Classic with your just straight off the grill burger. It would be phenomenal with that. Any of these would actually be really good with a burger or a brat. And then I was doing some research on what you would pair a lighter ale style with, and I found out that they go really well with spicy foods. So if you have
Exactly.
a spicy tuna or buffalo wings and salads, and the thing that I was really excited about was they go great with pastries.
Oh, perfect.
So I should be making some pastries
That's
and bringing them
right.
in.
That's right.
That's actually,
Yes.
when you think about it, that's actually very similar to wine pairings as well. because we generally don't pair a heavy tannic red wine with a spicy food. And the same thing, you probably don't want a heavy, bitter, hoppy beer necessarily with your very spicy food. So I think some similarities in the rules, so to speak, of pairing of food and beverage.
Absolutely. Yeah, I could see this, the Southside Citra, I mean, going really well with any kind of a pasta salad too, some of those sides that you think about with your picnics, but just boating in a summer day, perfect. Don't even need the food.
Or a nice potato salad, which now I'm getting hungry that we're talking about all this food. I think we need to go get some lunch after this.
Yes. Well, this was fun. I'm excited to learn a little bit more about the ales and the lagers because I enjoy beer, I drink beer, but I didn't really understand, I guess, the even the general components of the brewing process. So thank you for sharing that. And I think we have a lot of great options for your summer activities. And again, we really love to support the local brewers too, so we have a great selection from others besides the ones that we're featuring here. But we look forward to seeing you as you stop in and pick up a 6-pack or a mix and match pack to try a bunch of different ones to take out to your summer gathering. You guys enjoy the rest of the beautiful day and have a good summer. Thank you.
Cheers.